I think being in Division 2 might help this Dublin team a little bit. It might give them a bit of momentum. And looking down through, and we talked about this last week, like, I don't want to be disrespectful, but they're not really going to have much of an arse in Leinster. Like, no one's going to push them in Leinster. No one. Like, I think seen something silly the other day, like Louth, the second best team in Leinster or something like that. Somebody wrote, but like it's Leinster football for me at the minute is it's actually cringy. Like, it's
But
cringy.
I suppose even with the new structure being put in place, like, yes, especially the Leinster will be a dead rubber, like, but once they get into the groups, then after that with the new structure, they will be getting that's going to favor Dublin, like, and especially with
Yeah.
the three teams, going through out of the group of four, that's really giving the stronger teams a second chance, really. If you know yourself, if it's a group of four and two go through, you lose a game and you're under serious pressure. With three going through, that safety net
Yeah.
is I just personally I obviously look at it, comes down to the financial thing from Croke Park. They want more games, but are we getting to a scenario here? It's nearly too many games. I don't know what your opinion was. I know we're getting off topic here, but the Super Eights to me were they a success? I don't think they were, to be honest with you.
No. Listen, and the bit, like, one of the most go back to this, like, I feel as if I'm beating a drum. I feel as if I've beaten the same drum for this last 5 or 6 years. The National League is the best product we have, right? And I've said this before. I've put it on Twitter a few weeks ago that I think it was the game that I think Down played for Mana in Ederney, and it was a brilliant game. It was exciting. It was end to end, right? And like, that was two teams playing at the similar level, right?
Yeah.
If you had pitched in down to play Kerry in Tralee, we'd be beat out the gate by 20 points, right? That's the reality at this stage, right? But that's their level. That's the level. Everybody are in the National League or at the right level at the present moment in time.
Yeah.
Cavan are going to get promoted. Why? Because they've proved now that they're better than Division 3 level, and they're going to go to Division 2. Derry are now getting promoted. Why? They've proved that they're better than Division 2 level, right? But last year they never got promoted. And everyone is playing at their level. We talked about Division 4 before we came on air. The old county that I was down there for a few years, Carlow, like, sitting, second or third from bottom, whatever. But they're still competitive every week. They're a young side, they're rebuilding, but they're still competitive. The best championship we had, I would say, in the last 6 or 7 years, the best championship we've had was the COVID championship. Why? It was a knockout championship. You had Tipperary winning Munster. You had Cavan winning Ulster. Okay, Dublin destroyed them in the semi-final. But you had a Dublin Mayo final that was reasonably entertaining. Now, the lack of supporters obviously didn't help the whole thing. But the fact of the matter was, on any given day, everybody deserves a crack at somebody, right? That's fine. That's the cup competition. That's a cup competition, right? But make a decision what you're doing. If you're going to showcase the Sam Maguire and it's going to be you're going to market it as the best competition, then have it that the league placings or whatever it happens to be, seed you in a knockout type competition. But don't have a league and then another mini league in a cup competition. It doesn't make sense. Like, there's no other competition.
So what would you change? What would you change from the structure? So
I would actually make the divisions. It's just a random thought off the top of my head. Like, I'll maybe text Jarlath Burns later on, tell Jarlath that's the first thing he needs to do as president of the GAA, like, is follow my idea here in the leagues. But I'd maybe even make it 3 divisions or something like that. I don't know, right? Or even have maybe an extra team or 2 in each division, right? But you're getting much more games, but you're getting games every week. This is another thing actually that I want to speak about. Why is there a 2-week break in the National League? I don't understand that. 2-week breaks. I don't understand that. Supporters and players want to see it. And I chatted to Marnie Clark about this once, and we said talking about Australian rules and the Aussie rule system and the AFL system, where you have the league stands games, 15 league games in a row, whatever happens to be, and then you have your playoffs, something along those lines. Like, and the thing is, and this is the thing, the best players every week. Like, so for example, if you're following Roscommon, if you're a young player, if you're a young Roscommon fan, you want to be watching Enda Smith every week. If you're a young Mayo fan, you want to be watching Killian O'Connor and Aidan O'Shea every week. You don't want to be watching them for 2 weeks and then not seeing them for 3 weeks and then watching them for 2. You want to watch them every week. You want to see the best players playing every week. You want to see games on TV. You want to see more exposure, of these games. And I think that's critically important. That there's a regular flow of games. So, like, my personal preference would be to really, really market our leagues a bit more. Run the league competition as our main competition and then run the Sam Maguire nearly then obviously as a cup competition, as a knockout competition, with your top 16 teams and the bottom 16 teams into your Tailteann Cup, whatever it happens to be. But to have groups, see the groups in the Tailteann Cup. All these counties are saying, all these counties are doing now, just seeing more of the same old shite to see every week. Carlow's going to end up playing fucking Wicklow and Leitrim and all this nonsense, and they're just sick of the sight of each other. And you'll find the Tailteann Cup this year it'll actually disintegrate a wee bit, I think, this year with the group format. I haven't really looked into the finer details of it, Enda, right? I'm not going to lie to you, I haven't, because I'm not involved at the intercounty football level this year, so I haven't gone into detail on the whole fine details of it. But for me, the Tailteann Cup will definitely take a bit of a fall in this year. Like if you're a Carlow supporter, for example, and I'm only using this, but I'm not derogatory people in Division 4, but if you're a Carlow supporter and you've watched them again Wicklow and you've finished the mid-table Division 4, the last thing you want to do is go back out now and travel over to Leitrim and watch them in Leitrim in a Tailteann Cup match. It's no good. Like, it's of no interest. Like, but if it was a knockout draw and they're at home to, for talk's sake, Westmeath, or home to I don't know, somebody from even Kildare who might end up in the Tailteann Cup. But maybe imagine a home drawing is going to place be bouncing, place be hopping, something different, something new. Knockout competition, one-off opportunity here to take a big scalp. And I think that would just bring a bit more fucking probably energy to the games. I'm telling you this now. I'm going to predict this. I think a lot of these games will end up in front of poor crowds.
Yeah.
Played from damn squibs and no interest, and that's the way I think it's going to go.
Well, I think Kildare will definitely be in the Tailteann Cup, to be honest with you, unless they get to a provincial final. Unless you get like Leitrim, for instance. Now, they're a good example this year. They could actually get into Sam Maguire if they get into a provincial final, which is not beyond the realms of possibility here. It's either themselves or Sligo, and I'm not sure. The likes of Sligo and Leitrim, they probably want to. Kildare would probably see themselves above the Tailteann Cup. It would be, obviously a county of their tradition over the last, whatever number of years. But like you're talking like the likes of Meath. Meath are dangerously close. They'll be in the Tailteann Cup. There's a lot of teams with huge heritage, which are going to be in the Tailteann Cup. But I think, look, I agree to you. I agree with you in terms of. I just think more games isn't always the way to go in terms of. I just can't understand. I know. Look, a change isn't going to happen overnight in terms of yourself with the provincials. They're never going to get rid of them. I don't disagree with that. I think they do serve a purpose. Getting rid of the Ulster Championship, especially, or even Connacht. But yeah, Connacht and Ulster, we're probably biased here, CB. But like Leinster and Munster at this stage, they're dead rubber. Like they're not.
They are. That's the problem with the provincials. Ulster, they'll always want to retain that provincial. Like yes. You look at the scenes. Yeah. You look at the scenes last year, Clonus for Derry. Like there were special scenes. Like and like take my own county for example, hasn't won an Ulster title since 1994. Like if Down were to win an Ulster, for the first time in 30 years, like there'd be joyous scenes. Like there'd be it would be ridiculous. Like so like Ulster is still a special competition in my opinion. That's not me with the whole Ulster.
I agree with you. Yeah.
And Connacht, to be fair, and Connacht, to be fair, still has a relative competitiveness, like because you have Galway, Roscommon, and Mayo, right? And because it's probably such a small province as well, there is the chance that if the three are on the same side of the draw, that a Leitrim or a Sligo can get to the final like this year, which is massive for those counties too, But Anna, I know it sounds alright, but I would love to see it just for 1 year, just for something novel, right? Because we have a fantastic product, right? And we've got the perfect. There's competitions in the world would love to have 32 teams, like, right? We have the perfect number of teams, right? For 1 year and 1 year only, have your leagues, right? And then Sam Maguire, 32 counties, into a hat, FA Cupstyle, home and away. First team out, Dublin, home to Kerry, first round. What manic stuff, where there's one of the big guns gone, all of a sudden. Like why not try something different just for 1 year? Like, what difference is it going to make? Like for one season, just try something different, one-off competition. First draw out, say for example, Tyrone at home to Kerry. Imagine the atmosphere in Healy Park in that game. First round is Sam Maguire. Losers gone.
But what about provincials in those cities? What are you going to do with the provincials then?
Well, the provincials for me have been diluted anyway this year because with the way the provincials have been structured this year, I think they're being quite diluted, and I think what's going to happen anyway, and is they're naturally going to phase away. I know that the traditionalists will not like me saying that, and look, regard it doesn't really matter what we say in this podcast, and it's not going to change things, but for me, the provincials will naturally dilute anyway, and they will disappear. I personally think they will, or they'll become a pre-season competition or something along those lines. So at the minute, like they're being squeezed in a week after the National League this year, like which isn't like it doesn't make sense. Like so, but look, you could simply run the provincials. You could simply run the provincials as a pre-season competition. And you could run them a pre-season competition before the National League. You could hit your leagues, your 7 games, league finals, and then straight into your Sam Maguire knockout. Imagine the middle of the summer. You imagine the middle of the summer, like so many ties that you could just picture. Like the ball's coming out, and you just go, and that's a humdinger, that's a humdinger. And then what you might find is that a county like a Cavan, for example, could find themselves, taking a big scalp on the first day and maybe getting the winners of Sligo and Leitrim, and all of a sudden now they're sitting in a quarter final. You know what? Those wee things, like it's. I just think it would be hugely exciting to see that as a one-off. Just a one-off. Just try it for 1 year. 32 teams into a hat, home and away, knockout. And you still have your leagues, and you still have your provincials, you still have the whole lot.
Get Charlie Burns in the
Well, let's be honest, right? Let's be honest. See the current format. I don't care what anyone says. See the current format, and you can be as diluted as all you want. And I'm not being disrespectful to Cork or Roscommon or any of these counties. There's only 2 or 3 teams can win it anyway. In the current format, there's only 2 or 3 teams can win the Sam Maguire. That's the bottom line. It doesn't matter. You can pump all the money in the world you want into your county. You will not win it. That's the stark reality of it at the minute. Like
I'd go 5 there now.
Right, well, you've got Kerry, you've got Dublin. Galway won't count this year. They're missing too many players, right? And I'm telling you now,
really,
I honestly don't think they'll count this year. I really don't, right? I think you'll have Dublin. I think you'll have Dublin because of the Croke Park factor and the personnel they've back. You'll have Kerry and you'll have Mayo, right? I don't think Tyrone will count. And I think when the push comes to the shove, I think Derry's squad's too thin. And if they get a major injury to Shane McGuigan, they're in big trouble. And that's where I think there's 3 to 4 counties max Enda that's going to win it. But if you were to throw all 32 in a hat, anybody could end up. Like you could have somebody could you know yourself how a cup competition works. Kerry, not carry it in the first place.
Especially the home venues, especially the home and away venues.
Imagine Tyrone, like take for example Sunday, Tyrone draw Kerry at home, Healy Park packed, Tyrone win by a point, Kerry's out of the Sam Maguire. The next round, Tyrone go to the athletic grounds and Armagh knock Tyrone out. It's mad, like but it would just create a whole. I just think it would just add a wild bit of excitement for 1 season. Try it for 1 season. I'm telling you, I think it'd be a fantastic competition, but brilliant, and semi-finals neutral, and the only game that's played in Croke Park is the All Ireland final. You imagine? You think of the FA Cup games. You think of the FA Cup games. All the FA Cup games in the past, the semi-finals. I'm a United fan. Think back to 1989, the atmosphere in Villa Park when United beat Arsenal. The semi-finals used to be at Main Road, and then all of a sudden they started taking the semi-finals to Wembley. It's soulless. Getting to Wembley then doesn't mean anything.
We've got Sam McGowan here. I agree the league, especially Division 1 teams, going to be going toe to toe is something to look forward to. I agree with the league, especially Division 2. I agree. Interesting. Jack agrees with you, Stevie. And look at what does it always come down to? Come on. What does it always come down to?
Spondoolies, money. And money. And that's the bottom line. And it comes down to money, and it doesn't really matter. And but for me, what is the point in having a match in an empty Croke Park? It's soulless, like it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you there, but yeah, look, it'll be interesting. They're chopping and changing now. The Super 8s. This is another kind of version of the Super 8s, I suppose. But they're. I think you're right, Steve. I think the provincial will be phased out eventually.
Did somebody call it in the media? Somebody call it in the media the Super 16s or something. Like what in the name of God? No, I'd seen something like that in one of the papers. Like I was going, like what? Madness.
Yeah.